Hello, Letimicia. How are you today?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, great. So before we get on to our topic at hand, I wanted you to explain to people, you have kind of a brand for your yoga teaching, and I wanted you to tell them the name and where that came from.
Sure. So my brand is called Nkyinkyim Yoga, and it is based. That word Nkyinkyim is a West African word, and the literal meaning of it is actually twisting. And it kind of represents being versatile, being adaptable, and really just knowing in your mind that you have to change to be able to grow and to evolve. And I kind of chose that word because as a mom, as you know, you know, and you're not just a mom, right? We all have so many roles through work, through business, through relationships that we have with people, that we have to be able to kind of talk to your child the same way that you talk to a colleague at work or your partner, or just how you move through the world. You're always constantly adapting, right? So, and in a way that can seem like you kind of lose yourself because you're always kind of changing yourself up to for whatever the circumstance is. But I chose intention yoga because it's a time for you when you're practicing yoga, when you're in your meditation, when you're in your self-care. That's your time to disconnect to what's really here, who you really are. And taking that time to focus on yourself, get centered, and that's going to help you, for one, figure out what it is that's important to you, right? And then when you're moving through those spaces, you're moving through those different roles with that purpose in mind, with that intention in mind. And so yeah, that's a long way to say how you can use yoga to really help you focus, get recentered onto yourself, and then move into the world in the way that's going to get you towards your destiny and your purpose.
Perfect. And so we wanted to talk a little bit today about yoga deserts, and I know we both live in Nashville. And we were talking about how there's not a lot, maybe in the Antioch area or in the North Nashville area. And you do teach though in Antioch, right? Where you teach?
Right. Yeah. So I teach at a gym. It's called Made Fitness, and it's really like kind of one of those high intensity, like boot camp style. They're flipping tires and
Oh
jumping on,
my.
and doing all those things. That's a Black owned gym. It's been around for maybe 7 or 8 years now, and but they wanted to offer a yoga class because they understand that the importance of yoga, and for the people that they work with, that's pretty athletic. And so their mindset behind it is really kind of focusing on, okay, let's kind of stretch out our bodies from all of the heavy lifting and things that we do. So yeah, that's my regular Tuesday night class. It's hosted in the gym. It's hosted in a high impact gym. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you can find yoga in gyms or like community centers, Wise, stuff like that. And those do tend to attract more people who are there for the fitness aspects only, which
Right.
is part of yoga, but it's not all of yoga. And so there are just these places that don't really have a lot of offerings that are kind of more yoga studio based, which may sometimes be a little more spiritual based or a little more with the breathing exercises and stuff like that. And so, do you want to talk a little bit about what you've noticed as far as
Yeah.
that goes?
Yeah, for sure. I would say I even just to bring it back, to my experience with yoga starting out. Um, so the first class that I actually attended was at another gym, kind of a small, another kind of high impact gym, and the teacher was Marcus Jennings, a superhuman yogi. And he's great, but he's very like calisthenics, like he was doing all the handstands and the forearm planks and all of that. And so I was going to his classes. The class was only offered weekly because, as I said, it's a gym, so that's not the main focus of it.
Sure.
And when I was there, my mindset was I want to get into his pose, right? I want to do what he's doing. I want to handstand and put the arms and the legs and do all that. And I think, maybe for me at the time where I was at, kind of mentally, spiritually, maybe that was okay. But it really took for me to kind of develop my home practice because, like I said, I've lived in Antioch since um, 10 years now, and there's not a place close to me. And so I eventually began to kind of develop a yoga practice because I was pregnant with my daughter, right? So I couldn't do all that flipping and jumping on tires and stuff like that. I mean, I could have, but I didn't want to past a certain point, right? So, and so from there, that's when I really started to connect more to the spiritual side of it, and the breathing and all of that. And I really feel like that makes the practice more rich for me. And so I think, especially when you talk about, you know, people of color, marginalized groups, but, you know, I can speak from a Black woman's perspective, like sometimes that yoga where you're really like pushing yourself, that's not always serving you because sometimes you're already like, I've been pushing myself all day, right? Like I've been at work all day, I've been dealing with kids all day, I've been dealing, you know, and now I'm gonna force myself into this handstand, right? Or this forearm plank, or, you know, whatever it is. And so I think, you know, it really kind of does I won't say does the practice a disservice, but you definitely don't get the full range of it, because like you said, it's kind of pushing you towards that high, you know, physicality, and sometimes you don't get really the opportunity to clear your mind. You might get like that 2-minute shavasana, and you're spending half that time trying to catch your breath, right? Because of all of the things that you've done. And so I think, you know, having more yoga studios that offer different types of classes, then people can get, you know, the various benefits of Kundalini class, Hatha style, you know, and really begin to deepen their practice and get more of those kind of spiritual and mental benefits out of it.
So I think we touched on like 3 different ways that having, you know, yoga be accessible in different neighborhoods could be beneficial, because we're looking at location, geographic location, but then also, like you said, the styles. You know, if you're going to a gym, it's maybe more competitive and it might not be for everyone. It might not be what you need at a specific time in your life. But then also something else you mentioned was the schedule, you know, whereas a gym, they might have a lot of other classes going on. Maybe you only have one opportunity to try yoga that week. And if that doesn't fit your schedule, you're just out of luck, right? So there's kind of a couple of different aspects of how not having a studio in an area could make it inaccessible for people to even try yoga.
Exactly. And even thinking about, and I know there's a few, actually there was, I don't even know if they made it through the pandemic, but like places where if you have children, like, you know, you might not have childcare, so then that's a barrier as well. In some places you can bring your kid, like Bluma Yoga. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's, you know, the whole kind of purpose of that is kind of prenatal. They have kids yoga classes and things like that, but that's on the west side. And I went there when they had their grand opening, and I was like, I don't know if I can come back over here, right? Because it was on a Saturday, but it still took me 45 minutes to get there. You know, packing up kids and doing that whole thing.
Yeah.
Get tired, you know, before you even get to the place. But by the time you do that, let alone, you know, kind of getting centered and getting into a yoga practice. So you're right. I didn't even think about it until you. But there can be several barriers when, you know, it's limited places to have it, and, you know, the scheduling thing as well.
Right. So I mean, I feel like here, you know, we've mentioned Bluma changed their name to Nurture, but they're still on the west side. And I feel like there's quite a few kind of in the west side, kind of in Midtown, East Nashville, of course, huge. But yeah, then there are a lot of more outlying areas that there just is nothing.
Right.
So one of the other things we wanted to talk about is sometimes for people who don't have regular access, there are sort of event-based or different, you know, not at a yoga studio, but things you could try it out if you wanted to.
Right.
And I know you do one in the fall, is that correct? I think I remember.
Yeah, so I get asked to pop up and do things, so I'm like, yes. I've yoga in the park a few times. That's when you and I met, when we had kids with us and did that kids yoga. I've done that a few times. Obviously that's like spring, summer time, right? When the weather finally breaks. And we can do that. There's been a few events like the North Wall Fest in North Nashville that I've been invited to. But some of the things are just, I won't say for me that there's a regular like event that and a lot of times there's just not, the event is not centered around like wellness. So they might like, hey, you want to come do this thing? And it's like, yeah, sometimes people are expecting it, sometimes they're not. So then I'm just kind of doing yoga like with one or two people that happen to just be, down for it basically.
Yeah.
But I don't get, mad at that, because really it's about the exposure, right? And so at least they're seeing it, they know that there's somebody that does it if they want to try and connect with me at a later time. So well, one thing that's really cool that I know our library was offering, but now pandemic, but at the library in Antioch, they were having I think maybe one class a week. So that's not in the gym, it's not in the traditional space, and I believe it was free, or maybe it was like $5 or something like that. So that's a cool opportunity. And then hopefully you can, if your kids are old enough, they can roam the library while you're things like that. So those things I find to be really exciting, and just making it helpful for people in the neighborhood.
So on that topic, I have seen a few of our libraries are bringing it back. I know the downtown main library has kids yoga on Wednesday mornings. And I believe Madison restarted a yoga, but I don't remember what day it is. So if you guys are in Nashville, you can check out the library's website, and they have all the branches on there. And some of them are bringing back in-person yoga. And another thing I was going to think of that's sort of similar to that is I know one bar near me has like a yoga and beer event every weekend on Saturday mornings.
I love it.
So there are some like oddball opportunities where they combine yoga with other stuff, kind of like what you were saying, like it might not even really be a yoga place, but they might just have it randomly. So those are always opportunities to keep an eye out for. I wrote down a couple that I know are coming up. As you said, outdoor yoga becomes a big deal in the summer. And I know Small World Yoga does the International Day of Yoga every year.
Yes.
Have you done it?
I have done it. It's really fun.
It is packed usually, but it's so beautiful. If you have a good weather day, nothing beats it. And that will be coming up on June 21st. That is the International Day of Yoga. So there will be tons of events, I'm sure. But the Small World Yoga one is usually downtown on the river. And that is June 21st. I think they do it kind of like right after work. So if you happen to be someone who works downtown, you can get to it easy, and that's free. I've also done in the past yoga on the field. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yes, I haven't done that in so long, but that was a lot of fun.
That's another one that I think they might have skipped it a few years because of COVID or whatever, but it's supposed to be coming back this year, and that's at Nissan Stadium. And then just a few years ago, they also started doing it at the Sound Stadium.
Ooh.
Yeah, I haven't done that one yet, but I know those generally come up kind of during the summer months, so those might be ones for people to look out for. Do you have any other places to suggest keeping an eye out for? Or?
So there is, so I know like, what is it, E Plus Rolls? That's still kind of like downtown-ish, where there's not really, there's not a yoga desert there, but they offer, I think it's a $10 class, and you might get like a little coupon to get something there.
Okay.
Class, they were doing that on Saturdays. So I don't know if they're still continuing that. They were actually doing that in February, like in January, which I thought was kind of cold, but hey, go for it. I actually have I have a friend who owns an event space out in Goodlettsville, and so I'm not even sure that there's much yoga out there, but I've done some yoga classes with her at her space. It's called Canvas Event Center, or studio, excuse me. And so she offered a free class that I did there, and that was great. And we're going to be doing that again on March 22nd, I believe, because she's celebrating the anniversary of her business.
Okay.
And do some yoga there, so that's free, and you can choose to support her business. She sells waist beads. So if you follow me, you see I have 5 or 6 strands of waist beads. They all came from her. And then I'm also working on an event. I'll be partnering with Alicia of One Drop Ink Tattoo, tattoo parlor. I've actually taught yoga at her tattoo studio as well.
That's
and
fun.
yeah, all kind of weird or non-traditional yoga places. And so we actually have an event that's going to be coming to 100 Taylor Arts Collective. So that's kind of in the downtown area as well. But on March 1st, we'll be doing yoga and kind of a mindfulness with using dream boards. We'll have sound healing and all of that stuff. So that's pretty exciting. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, just like, again, I will pop up anywhere. If somebody's like, hey, can you come to this little pocket in the woods? I'm like, sure. What? Or this neighborhood, I'll taught yoga in some schools. I taught yoga at, what is it? Margaret Allen middle school? I think middle school. A couple of weeks ago to some teenagers. So yeah, you just kind of meet people where they're at, and that's what I loved about the thing you mentioned with at the bar, right? Like people, you gotta meet people where they're at so that they can feel like they can connect to the practice. If they need a little drink beforehand or afterwards, that's okay. That might help them get deeper into their meditative state, right? Help them relax a little bit. Same thing with me, like we will be doing yoga in Jalop again this summer. And so, we get people, hey, you come for the yoga, but you stay for the food, right? You get a snack, you get to have community. And I think last time we did that at like a high school gym, right? And we've done that in kind of an auditorium setting as well in North Nashville. So, we're trying to meet people where they are, give them the experience and just introduce them to the practice so that they can feel it for themselves, see it for themselves and really get into it kind of firsthand.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And I will put links to your site so people can find out where you're going to be and follow you and see if they want to go maybe to your gym in Antioch and
yes,
practice.
Have you, yes. And I won't make you lift weights and throw tires around, I promise.
Well, that's a deal. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.